much keep the beginners and maybe, you know, first timers in line. Well, first of all, on the weather front, it's just gone positive, Sam. Sam is southern annular mode, so traditionally...
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Yes, we call our computer girl at work Bubbles. So, yeah, Sam has just gone positive, so Sam is southern annular mode. And it's going to be a strong SAM during, and it may go all the way through winter. So for coastal pilots, that means maybe some opportunities as well. Generally, that generates an onshore influence very consistently across eastern Australia. So obviously you get the cloud, you get the showers and all that kind of stuff, but onshore winds. So here in the Hunter Valley, we get the westerly flushes in the morning, but we may have some nice winter flying, fingers crossed if SAM does remain locked in place. So it looks like SAM's already begun, and you can already feel it today with the easterlies. And at this point, the forecast for the Easter long weekend, SAM's still going. So traditionally, that's easterly winds right along the coast, pushing over the mountains for Manila, typically out of the south, out of the east, which is good. It had that trough line, you were talking about the winds. It had the lovely little trough that sits out there over the northwest. A couple of the charts were suggesting if that trough line is there, that it may overcloud come the Sunday, Monday. That's how it looked today. Obviously, it's a long way out. That may change. But what I do love about SAM is the easterly push over the mountains, usually bringing in moisture, and also that southerly influence, which gives a great typical milk run. So that's the milk run that runs straight up to Warrialda, Bingra. So fingers crossed, that is how it will play out. So that would be certainly nice. A couple of things about the easterly flow. If we get one of those, it's a yin and yang there for beginners. Well, let's first of all talk about, I think what's really, really important is to fly a great day. It all begins now before you go. It's getting all of your gear. I mean, whenever I go XC, I pull everything out. I make sure it's right. So I basically unpack, repack the day before I go, and then I check it again on the morning of. The day of state of origin, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of socializing, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of chatter. You've got your meetings, etc. So there's a lot of distractions that may take you away from what you need to focus on. And this is probably the rule number one of XC as far as I'm concerned. The most important part of XC is always be in the moment. It's so important to constantly be in the moment before you get on the hill and in your flight. Never think about big flights or this or what everybody says. If you're constantly always in the moment and completely aware of your surrounds, makes for a far better day or a greater percentage chance of having, a really fun, successful day. So that is, checking all your gear, listening to the flight information that's going to occur before you get onto the hill, because mistakes suck. Whether you've forgotten some gear or you haven't charged something correctly or something isn't right, because that throws the mind out. So if everything is always going smoothly and you're in the moment the whole way through, it's certainly going to help with your XC day of getting it right, because one of the big components of getting it right is when you do launch, you only have to launch once that day. We all bomb out. If you do bomb out, so what? The first part about potential easterly influence is you're going to be taking off on the eastern launch, the northeast launch. Pros and cons of this. The con of it, first of all, it's low. When I take off on the easterly launch or the northeasterly launch, I consider it's a low save day from the second you get the wing in the air. So that's, again, that important part about being in the moment, no mistakes. I don't want anything to go wrong, because I need to maximize every single second I get in the air there to get it right, to get away. On that northeast and eastern launch, the best part about it is it gets the morning sunshine. So it warms up nicely there. So what happens with the easterly winds, or what we get now with SAM, fingers crossed, you don't get the inversions. If you don't understand an inversion as a paragliding pilot, it's pretty important to do so. An inversion simply is the cold air sinks down and there's a warm layer, sometimes two warm layers. As you go up to 1,600, 1,700 meters, they suck. Also, Typically this time of the year you're starting to get dry adiabatic. So that's a drier air mass. When you have a drier air mass, the air heats up and cools faster. If it's heating up and cooling faster, it makes for rough conditions. So that combined with a temperature inversion, that you're coming up, you're hitting it, and then you've got to wait till that part of the day that the thermals are strong enough to punch through the inversion. The inversion will come out on the top of that first layer, but it's going to probably be a little bit downwind. So, being a beginner, don't be super frightened of the bumpy conditions if you've got an inversion or that more leaning towards a dry adiabatic. The bumps are a part of it. So the inversions are a pain in the butt. We don't love them, and heavily inverted days are really painful, which can happen this time of the year. But if we're getting this easterly influence, it is a little bit less likely to be like that. Hopefully we'll get some lovely, nice thermals. But if you do get through your inversion, remember it's like starting again, and an inverted day is not a wipeout day by any means. You start flying above the inversions or in between the inversions and you work and staying on, they can actually result in really, really good days. So it could go on about that a lot. So hopefully we don't get big inversions, but typically this time of the year that's going to occur. So getting a dry adiabatic at this point, there is everything leading up to probably not. We've had a lot of rain on the ground, particularly out west. There's a lot of rain. Getting out beyond Narrabri, the Pilliga, it's been flooded. It's under out there. So if you've ever flown all the way out there, Barham Junction, it's a floodplain out there. So it's going to be really, really slow and probably difficult. Keep away from those waterways. There was an epic photo of the droughts over Queensland where all of the river systems that were flooded, they took a satellite image, and around it there were all these epic queues, and you could actually see the rivers in the atmosphere. And I thought it was a really good example, or a great photo for paragliding pilots to see, that all of the air was sinking over the rivers or the flooded areas. All the queues, the sun was hitting the queues and forming all on the outsides, but all in those low-lying areas, there was the river systems were mapped in the atmosphere. It was pretty epic. So that's a good thing to think of if there's low-lying areas or they've had some rain. Keep away from them. They've got a really lovely dry out phase at the moment. This week is fantastic. It's going to dry out really nicely. So that combined with the hopefully this easterly influence that we're getting, hopefully there'll be some really nice moisture. We won't have to deal with temperature inversions, etc. So let's stay on that eastern side of Borah. There's a couple of things. You've got a lot of numbers here. So treating it like a low save from the second you're in the air is efficiency. A low save is about flying efficient. So, a little bit of brake. You don't want pitch, you don't want roll. You're trying to keep everything maximized out of your wing. You want your turns nice and smooth. You'll have your organized clockwise and anti-clockwise moments on the day. Keep that in the mind so you're not doing a lot of figure eights or pitching and rolling, because every time you're pitching and rolling, you're losing a little bit on those low-lying areas. On that eastern side, on that front side, you're going to find two ways. There's two kinds of pilots. One, if you're sticking to the close, all of the rocks and over the northeast. If you're coming off the east and coming over that northeast, it heats up beautifully, gets that morning sunshine. And sticking to the ridge, there's two things. And you've got to milk every single piece of lift out of that. Trying to take your turns, maybe figure eights, to try and get back over the top of Borah. The best lift at Borah is on top of Borah. So you're going to try and get over the top of it, because think of, the really good gliding pilots, the big gliding pilots, they're not using, when they take off, they're not using one thermal. They link 3 up, 4 up, and then they know they're all going to come together, and they know if they stick to it and grind, they'll all come together, then you're going to take off. So that's what's happening over Borah. You've got the lovely little lift coming up that rocky side of the northeast ridge, right in front of the north ridge, down the rocks in front of the actual east ridge, and they all come up beautifully. And then you've got that grass flat top of Borah that's lifting up, and everything is sucking up towards it. So you're kind of milking all these little ones to get into that main draw over the top. Now it gets really, really busy, so that to me is plan A always. That's how I get away most of the times, finding all of those little, so I can get a turn in over Borah to get into the main suck over it. Getting up, Dropping over the back, 1600 meters, 1700 meters, you're going to be struggling because you want to link up. So you really want to get beyond that. So be patient as well. Watch the other guys, watch the good guys. When they start to go, it's going to be easier because a lot of height is going to give you more time to break away and get away and find another climb to get away as quickly as you can. The other one is Borah on that eastern side, the east-northeast. Is if you're not staying up and you may get pushed out, it gets pretty busy, so then you've got to get down. So as I said, this is a low save now. So right in the front, there's a lovely ridge there. They're all the same thing. All of these little thermals that are popping off that time of the day, you've got to take anything you can, maximize it the best way you can, to milk it to try and again climb back, to get back over Borah, to suck up and take that main one, get a nice high climb, get away from there. Coastal pilots, let's move to the western side. So hopefully the western side we're going. Sometimes there are opportunities on the southern side. The issue with the southern side, it's not going to get much sunshine. It's going to come in later this time of the year. It's really angled up. So you're going to have a lot of southerly in it, and it's not fantastic. It certainly is possible. Take the southerly, wrap around, get to the sunny side. You can climb out that way, especially busy. I did that, I think, last week. The last one. It was so busy on the east and everyone. I took off on the southern side by myself and went straight around to the sunshine and climbed out that way because it wasn't a busy launch. The western side, one of the big tips of coastal pilots is as a coastal pilot, you're so used to ridge sorties that are constantly happening. So be careful of that you're in the mind frame of like it's west and I'm going to ridge soar until I get a climb. If it's going, you can climb out straight away because, chances are you're launching and you're straight there. Try and get in that turn and you may be able to get a turn straight away, get above hill height and then again climb out. I should go back a bit. I didn't finish the other eastern side first, of getting way out in front, the thermal's down on the thing. You'll see some guys and experienced pilots choose that option as well. You got to know what you're doing or get the timing right. You'll see the guys, they'll fly straight out. They don't do that. Stick to the eastern side. They want to go straight out and find a climb. A little bit harder for a beginner to do because when you're lower to the ground, it looks like you'll make it. You'll see them climbing out and you want to go for it, but you don't have much in it, so you end up bombing out. Best part about bombing eastern side, you get a lift back up pretty quickly. Western side, those thermals off that southwestern corner, loves to go. There's one coming through there so regularly all the time, and the other one to the right, or the main obvious one that's coming up through the front. When it does get clustered on that western side, watch your other gliders. I mean, they're giving you so much. You can see pretty much everything. But one thing that is difficult is the guy that is ridge soaring and he's coming through and he's throwing you out. Don't be that guy. Be really polite and see if they're low and they're turning, taking the turns, come out, join them beautifully. Don't bump them out because they're really small. And think of that, what I said about the big gliding. Everyone's milking the little climbs to get to the big climb. So they're tighter, they're a little bit harder. You've got to work them, and drain it for all it's worth. So, that is getting up and getting away high. And obviously there's heaps of options and things that I could go through of getting away, but that is probably the best I can give on that front. If there's any questions in regards to that you want to do, or go beyond getting away further from Borah. So there's multiple options on getting away good.
Let's just explore getting away first of all, and then maybe we'll have a comment about what to do next. So if you're on the eastern side, most people will launch and tend to want to go along the ridge towards the northern launch.
Yeah.
And under that northern, there's those rocks there by the northern launch, but as it goes down, it sort of goes down into a plateau.
Yes.
There. There's the plateau and then down again. Quite often there seems to be a climb that's coming out of that region.
Absolutely, that is definitely a trigger. There's multiple triggers. As I said, if you're starting out on the northeast, there's the rocks to the side, but it can get rough on that front. And the northeast launch itself, if you're coming off that east, the northeast launch is actually a nice trigger as well. The sun is on that launch, it's nice and clear. The other one is, which you're talking about, is that plateau where the road is. It's pretty much over the road. And with the cars coming up as well, the first cars are best. With so many, it's difficult. But that's another thing. When you've seen a road for some time and then a car comes along it, chances are a car's going to trigger a thermal as well. So that's another thing. But that's, when it's so busy, that's it. But you'll see that road, the beginners. But remember, at the same point, you've got to milk everything you possibly can on that east launch. So as I said, that's flying efficiently. It's weight shift a little bit on the outside. Think of your wing overs. When you're doing a wing over, you're pulling hard on the inside, but you've got to counter it on the outside. It's the same, with making an efficient turn, weight shift and a little bit on the out because it's the outside of the wing to try and, and remember a 0 or 0.1 out there, the air is still going up. So you're just sitting there and you've got to hold it and the objective is to try and drift back to get that beautiful thermal that will eventually go. So that is a good trigger. And the other one that does come off the east launch, but they're bigger gaps, in between them. So as I said, the guys that do go way out in front, the gaps between those are bigger. Those smaller ones, they're coming off regularly, but they're small and they're almost little bubbles, and you're milking those, as it goes. Where the ones down in front, you get a lovely big thermal. You see the guys lift and you think, oh my God, that guy out there is going to bomb out. He's so low, and then boom, he's in. They're the ones you go, shit, he's gone. It's up much faster. But if you get back over, you'll catch up to them as well. So those thermals way in for out in front coming up the package, they are good and a typical more big thermal, but they're just more intermittent. So that timing is everything, on those east launches. Timing is so important. So patience is another very important part of the game, particularly on those eastern launches.
Just one follow-up on that then. It seems to me that whether you fly out or sort of whether you're ridge soaring, a lot of that ultimately depends on the wind strength. Because I think, we were up there together, Gav, in January, and even though it was very windy up high, down on the launch, we had some days where it was really just stonking wind all day. But other days, you definitely had to fly out to where the thermal was because it wasn't being pushed in on the hill.
Yeah, because you want to drift back, so it's a double-edged sword. When it is strong enough, you can ridge soar. It's not fantastic, it's not fun. And then when you do climb out, it's going to drag you back. And that's one of the difficult parts of making the evaluation. When you're over the top of Borah then, and you're getting dragged back, and then you know in your head like, oh man, I don't want to get too far behind too low, but it's a really good thermal. Do I stick with it, climb, and I'm committed? And a lot of the time, or sometimes then you climb it and then you lose it and you haven't hit 1900, you haven't hit 2000 meters, and you're on the western side. So you're committed then, you're not going back to Borah, so you've got to find another one and you're pretty low. Or you just find that epic, beautiful climb, you've waited till the end of the day, and that's typically out of that easterly airflow, where you see the queues almost coming over the mountains, and you're waiting for those, and you get those lovely, really climbs, and then you climb out on the other side, and then it's easy to link up. So if you do get it a little bit, if your timing is out, you get caught in that position of going, oh, do I go forward, do I go back? And remember that's a good one. Indecision will always kill your XC flight. You've got to be committed one way or the other, and believe that the thermals are there, but if you're a little bit lower, then you can't screw around. You've got to go for it. Or then punching back. Sometimes if it's not right and it's kind of like a moderate wind, it's dragging you back and you're getting a bit of height, but then it's like it's a bit inverted and broken, fall away. Then you want to punch forward. And again, then you're waiting for that good thermal, that really good one that is going to get you, lots of height, and then you can break away.
So I suppose after the launch and the first climb out, so if it is southerly, which I had a bit of a look on windy and it seems it's going to go that way. Now, if you're a bit of a beginner, one of the big decisions is, do you stay on the ridge or on the eastern side of the ridge? As you travel up, particularly on a time where the thermals might be a bit light and you're a bit worried about whether you can get it punch out into the paddock. Like, how do you?
Where the other little paragliders are going up.
Yeah. It's that is one of the hardest parts to get through and get over as a beginner, I think. One thing to remember, if you've got a rocking climb over Borah, it's on, all right? So, and you'll see a lot of the guys will just go straight down the ridge. When it's on, it's so obvious. If you've got that western launch or the southern launch, you've climbed out, and it's just not fun, it's not right, it's a little bit broken, it's a little bit jagged, it's a struggle. You're getting to 1,600, 1,700 metres, you're losing it, it's a little bit inverted still. So if it's a struggle over Borah, it's going to be a big struggle away from Borah, a bigger struggle. So I kind of know from that climb, that first climb out of Borah, I almost know what kind of day I'm going to get, to a degree. A good percentage of the day. Like when you've got that big, beautiful, smooth climb out and you're at cloud base and you can see them now starting to pop off down the ridge, I'm going to go the ridge every single time. So I'm going to go that way where I've had the most percentage luck in comparison to going over towards Split Rock is going straight up the ridge and then dropping over what we call Tarpoli Heights and getting around Tarpoli on that western side and then going up towards the Horton Valley that way. And then once you drop out over over Tarpoli towards the Horton Valley, that's typically, the thermals are a long way apart and a lot of people come unstuck there. So you can almost see the Borah Ridge and the way Tarpoli Heights are and the way that wind comes through there. You can see why Tarpoli's a sinkhole just in that topographical formation anyway. The wind is creating wind shear through that hole. And remember, Borah is almost like a cloud street. That's an area of lift. And when you've got a cloud street, you've got one big elongated area of lift. It's got to come down somewhere, and it's coming down at the end of that cloud street, and that's what Borah is. All of that lift, all the morning sunshine on the eastern side, all the western wind is coming up. You've got this rock and climb. It's going to be an epic day. You're going down Borah, but everything that's come up over Borah is coming down into Barraba. Trying to get up. There's wind shear in there, and it's tricky. It's hard to get away, and that's why so many people. The other option is when you're a beginner, your brain is going, I want to be close to the road. That's a reality of what you're fighting with, in your early parts, in your early stages of being an XC pilot. Man, I'm watching these guys go just like boonies, like, do I go with them? And that's freaking me out. Or do I go, if I bomb out, I'm going to be close to the road, I'll get a lift and I'll get back and I'll get another second chance. So you're fighting with that constantly in your mind. Again, evaluate if it's just booming and you're with your team and they're experienced and they know, and they'll let you know, you guys have, this club obviously has a really great crew, and the Sydney guys have got excellent advanced pilots. They will know on the day and go, hey, we're going to go for it today. And and nothing better, nothing more fun than flying over terrain that you just typically wouldn't fly by yourself or on your own, but you do it and go, oh my God, and then you start to believe, and that's a big part of XC, believing that what you can't see is there, and that's the big transition and the change up. Going out towards the highway and going to Split Rock, the northern end of Split Rock is where they're going again, and those mountains are fantastic, and a lot of people will find climbs out that way. So you can almost literally, on that southern day, you can literally see the tribe parting. Some are going over the ridge in Tarpoli, and literally everybody comes around the other side and almost meets to a point. And then there's some that just go for it. You know what? It's not going to take my chances. I'm going to charge Tarpoli straight down the guts and give it a crack.
I must admit, Conrad's got a good point in that generally, I've flown there a number of times. I must admit, sitting here now, I never really have had success on the eastern side of the road. And so for me, it's always been jump over Tarpoli and stay on the western side of the road.
Yeah.
And going out, is that just me, or is that a better route?
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That's where to go.
Yeah. Well, we did that last time I did the talk to show that basically that sums it all up there. On that northern side, you've got that little peak on the, and remember now the rivers and the dams are like full again. But on that split rock, there's that mountain ridge that goes, and then you've got the mountains. I think it's more a setup process that most want to go all along those mountains that go up the eastern side of Barraba, you know, or you're going to go the other side, you know, of Barraba towards the Horton Valley, you know. So it's definitely there, you know, but it is a big, what's happening though is the thermals are just further apart, and in the morning it's taking the time. You've got the initial warming of the day, the big release, you're seeing a lot of others go, and then it settles down for a while, and that's where a lot come unstuck as well. And that's why patience on that, in that first part is so important, you know, to be patient, you know, because you're fighting to get to the end of the day. You get to the end of the day, it's a completely different ball game. You know, the hardest part of Borah is always getting away. You know, and then if it is a good day, once you're away, and then if you're in the prime of the afternoon and the evening, well then it's given to you half the time. Then you're doing kilometres you can't even possibly imagine that you could do because you're hitting cloud streets and lift, you know, and then you've got magic air at the end of the day. So, you know, battling inversions and making these early decisions, you know, it's almost the hardest part of the day to a degree, you know. So once you're up for a good while and you've got a few hours under your belt and you're starting to get close to, you know, 100 Ks or 60, 70 Ks for bigs, you know, and away, there's areas that will bring you unstuck. Kobadar, which is, you know, just north of, you know, Barraba. It's a high elevated area, so there's a lot of sink around it. So you've got, again, that's why a lot of pilots will either go to the east side or over towards, you know, the Horton side. But again, you know, that's commitment, but you've all got retrieved drivers. And I think that's a really good thing to remember. Remember, the best part about State of Origin and Borah is, one, there's a lot of drivers on the road. You know, you're going to get home. You know, it is your opportunity to go, you know what, I've got a feeling it's there, I'm going to go for it there. You know, so I'm not, you know, encouraged to push beyond your limits, but you certainly can give it a shot of going to areas that you may not normally go, that then potentially then will help you believe when you do get more advanced or, you know, have more experiences as, you know, an XC pilot, it helps you to start linking it together, and it gives you the confidence, because it just gets to the point when you do enough of it, you're not looking at the ground, you're not looking at the road, you just know it's there. So you're gonna go for it, you know, and because that's where the lift is, and everything else is completely irrelevant, you know.
Yeah, and certainly the retrieve, you know, we've organised retrieve drivers, and so I agree. It's rather than just land and think how we're going to get back, like we will have someone come to pick us all up.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a big advantage to give you courage to push on.
But again, I'll reiterate, I think the most important thing, no matter what, always, is to stay in the moment the whole time. Think about what kind of climb it is. Is it slow? Is there an inversion? Do I need to milk this? Is it on now? Like I can start pumping my speed bar in between. Remember also, when you're in, you know, you want to slow down every single time, particularly in that early stage of the flight. Milking it is like slowing down your whole flight, being patient and milking. You want to, if you just even think of the objective of your day is, I'm going to spend as much time as possible in lifting air or slowing down in that process. And as soon as you're in falling air, you want to get out of it as quickly as possible. You know, just get the hell out of it. You know, so move and push through it. Don't hesitate. Don't be indecisive in sinking air. Just get out of it. Push forward. Make a commitment. Get out and find it until you find some form of lift.
Last question from me is that, just with respect to the change, I always sit around on the hill and look, wait to see when the good pilots are. It's strange, they all basically get up almost as one and say, right, we're all going now, and you do have to be ready, because you can end up in a period of 10 minutes, all the good pilots are gone.
Yeah, well, look, remember there's two things. The good pilots also are looking, that they want one big climb and get out. You don't want to waste it bombing out, right? So they're looking for the perfect time to escape, but they want to escape as soon as possible. Because if they're escaping as soon as possible, they've got more time in the air. If you're a beginner and intermediate, that's not really your big thing. You know, you've got to remember that your objective for the day should be, you know, to get up and try and have the longest and your PB. And, you know, if your PB is not that big, it doesn't take many hours to beat it. If you're getting a 2, 3 hour, 4 hour flight in really good conditions, you're going to have a far better experience compared to going up too early, bombing out, packing up the gear, going back up the thing, you know, all the good guys or whatever. So again, that's why patience and timing is really, really important, you know, and again, you know, don't worry about everybody else. Worry about you. Stay in that moment. Don't get too distracted in the socialising, the thing. You know, I stay focused. For me, the socialising is in the car ride, having beers on the way back and back at the farm at the end of the day. It's never in the morning or beforehand. I'm going in my head, evaluating constantly of like what I see, what I'm experiencing. On launch, I'm looking at the timing of the thermals coming through. I'm paying real attention. If I'm in a conversation with someone on the West Launch, I'm not paying attention to the timing of the thermals. And I'll see one come through and I got it now, and I'll go down and I'll set up and I'll know that like the next one's coming, you know, so, you know, because I'm counting in my head, you know, like almost the numbers. I've already seen how quickly or how slowly it's going now. So that's my mind is not, I don't like getting caught up in the chatter in the beginning of the day. It's not my time, you know, like at the end of the day, absolutely. But, you know, I want to see and pay attention to everything that's going on around me. I'm trying to watch the guys that are climbing out. Are they hitting 1,600 metres and 1,700 metres? It looks like it's epic, but they're dropping over the back and most are bombing out. You know what? Is it inverted up there? Or are they hitting cloud base? Are the clouds going down Borah? Are they forming out the back? You know, what are they doing? I'm trying to take in the whole surrounds. Is it going to overcloud? Do I need to go early? You know, because, oh man, it's getting pretty freaking hectic, you know, so I might as well get some form of a flight in, you know, so it's all that evaluation. So focus on you, always be in the moment, never, you know, think beyond what you're doing in that particular second. And that includes the launch, the flight, the climb, when you're at cloud base, when you're in sync, going, I'm in sync, I've got to get out. I'm going to punch the speed bar. It makes me nervous and I'm scared, you know, because you're going to have a collapse or whatever. But if you've got height, you know, you want to use it to get out of sync as quickly as possible.
Gav, thanks for the insights, man. It is a big question mark in my head exactly what the